So why is there something rather than nothing? Well, I don't know. That's the point of this video, but let's see how we get there. Everything around us, everything we see, touch, and experience comes from a long list of causes that put you or that thing there. No matter how random something seems, there is a cause. The cause is just so complicated and nuanced, we just label it as random. So if everything had a cause, it was caused by other causes. What was the first cause of everything? Like, why do giraffes exist? Because they eat plants. Why do plants grow? Well, partly because the sun shines. Why does the sun exist? Well, because billions of years ago, a huge cloud of gas condensed onto itself, causing nuclear fusion, creating a giant ball of fire. Why? Well, because the Big Bang, we think, created the universe. Okay, but what caused that? What caused everything? Why do we or anything even exist at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? And that's the real question. There's only two answers on how everything got here. Either everything has been here forever, which doesn't make any sense, or everything came from nothing, which equally doesn't make any sense. Let's say the universe has always been here. Okay, but just because something might seem to have always been here doesn't mean it has. It just means we don't understand just how old something is. At first glance, the Earth seems to have just been here forever, but if you went back 5 billion years, that wouldn't be the case. The timescale is just so big compared to our lives that we can't comprehend it. Nothing can exist forever. It had to come from something. Even the oldest things that might ever exist might be around for a Google number of years, but that's literally nothing compared to say it's been here for an infinite amount of time. Let's say the universe is a Googleplexian to the Googleplexian years old. Cool, but that doesn't mean it's been here forever. Maybe by infinite, we mean the Big Bang was part of a big loop and loops back onto itself an infinite number of times. Okay, but then what caused the first loop? The whole loop couldn't have just been started from nothing. Now, let's say everything did come from nothing. Well, no, the Big Bang couldn't have been caused by nothing because nothing is just nothing and can't create something. Maybe in this nothing, there was some small shift in some subatomic particle a billion times smaller than a Planck lathe that somehow exploded and made a huge universe. Nice, but then the Big Bang really wasn't caused by nothing, but just another something. And if it was something else, then what caused that? What caused it to implode? What caused the thing to even be there at all? Why is anything here at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? And that is a good ass question we might never have an answer to. I'm gonna call this a B tier question. It's a good ass question because it's literally the question on how everything got here. But it's not ranked any higher because if you were to answer it, I don't know how much it would actually affect our day-to-day lives. Like, sure, it'll be cool to know and solve a lot of problems, but let's say we do find out exactly what caused you and everything to be able to exist. Would it change the way you exist? Would it change your actions? Maybe a little, but it would really just scratch an existential itch. But that's about it in my opinion. Actually, this makes me think of a bigger question. What exactly are we? What is consciousness? As far as you know, you are you. And you only know you are you because you are conscious. Without consciousness, you are nothing. Not just nothing as in nothing, but you are nothing. You would be so nothing that you, which isn't even you, wouldn't even know that you're nothing. First of all, what is this? We're alive, sure, but once again, what the fuck even is this? We can breathe, we can see things, we can feel the air. Okay, but what is this? Of course you can explain, like, well, the air pressure and the wind, and you see the molecules and neurons in your brain and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool, ice cool, but the feeling itself, the feeling of the sun, the chill of cool, the emotion of a kiss, the pain of heartbreak and a cut on a finger. What exactly is this? The qualia, the thing that actually makes experience. The gap between the sound waves hitting your ear and your brain turning those waves into something you can actually comprehend. We can attempt to explain these things physically, sure. Like, well, you see a banana because the photons bounce off the banana and only reflect the yellow light and it hits your eye from this angle and the optic nerve and blah, 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 but we can't explain the yellow itself. We're not even sure if the yellow I see is a yellow that you actually see. We have no idea how the mixture of water, potassium, and sugar turns into the actual taste of a banana in your mind. How does it all work? How does this work at all? Well, I don't know, but maybe it kind of works like, why are we even aware of anything? Is it something that evolution gave us to survive and it works so well that since we beat the game of survival, we're just left here questioning the point of everything? Or is it something special, something given to us by something greater? How do we know other things are and aren't conscious? Is a rock conscious? Probably not. The reason why this is so complicated is because it's like, what about a seed, a leaf, a tree, your dog? Where does the line of consciousness start? You would probably agree that a single cell is most likely not conscious, but you're just a collection of 30 trillion of them. But suddenly you are? Where does the line start? At 1 cell, 2 cells, 100, 1,000? Where? Is fire conscious? I mean, it breathes oxygen just like you. It can spread and repopulate. It dies like all the rest of us. How do you even know that you're conscious? Anyways, back to, can you open up a mind and see the exact spot responsible for it all? The spot in which blue becomes blue is not just a wavelength between 450 and 495 nanometers. The part where if removed, consciousness, the experience wouldn't be possible. If you were able to, would that be you? The truest of yous, the you listening to these words right now. Even if we were able to pinpoint the exact spot the subjective experience begins, cool, we figured out where, but still not how it works. We know that all of this is somehow happening in the brain, but we can only guess about the mechanisms behind it. We are helplessly lost in finding the point, the bridge, the gap in which matter and energy turns into the sound of a piano. How this piece of meat is turning meat into the taste of meat. How this piece of meat even knows that it's meat at all. And how do we keep forgetting that all of this is the question itself asking these questions? If we can even understand how the bedrock, the very foundation on how our experiences work, it leads us to the first big sub-question. How do we know what's actually real? Slowing down a bit, the really weird part about this consciousness situation that really creeps me out is that we will never really know what the world is actually like outside of us, because everything we experience is just our brain's interpretation of the information that it receives. As far as we know, the physical universe that we live in is just a bunch of particles, waves, and forces that are mostly invisible to us. Literally, we only see 0.0035% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. And that's responsible for all the colors and everything visible to you, meaning over 99.99% of the universe is literally invisible to your eye. Also meaning that no matter what you're looking at is only a fraction of the real picture. If you could somehow experience objective reality, there would be no bananas, no cats, no sounds, just a lot of forces and atoms flying around. You would be completely overwhelmed by stimulation. You would see colors and sounds and energies far beyond what you could possibly comprehend. But even then, it wouldn't be the real thing, just an interpretation of it. Like, sound isn't actually sound. It's literally just waves of atoms pushing each other. Sound is just your brain's way of understanding the patterns of these waves. Heat isn't actually heat. It's just how fast molecules are moving at an atomic level. Nothing has an objective taste. Taste is just how your brain interprets chemicals from food so you know what to eat and what to avoid. But at its foundation, it's just chemistry. If you were to go to a dust cloud in the middle of our galaxy that has ethylene formate in it, it would taste like raspberries, even though there isn't anywhere nearby. But just because the chemical is right. Almost all of our experiences and senses can be manipulated and tricked. If your brain receives certain information, that becomes your reality, even if it isn't objectively real. And the fact that it's impossible to see objective reality means that you will never truly know if the world that you see is the world that actually exists. It's kind of like whenever you're dreaming and you genuinely think that where you are is real, and you only realize that it was fake in hindsight whenever you wake up. Basically, well, not basically, everything you experience is not objectively real. You will always see everything just behind a wall. If the world you see right now isn't real and is actually just 1% of 1% of the real world, then how do you know what you're looking at all is real? Like, we've seen optical illusions and audio tricks that trick your brain into believing something that isn't true. These are cool until you look down at your own hands and then you ask yourself, how do I even know what I'm looking at right now is even real? And the answer is, you don't. Like, of course we can assume that we're not being lied to and there is some truth to what we see, but we will never know for 100% certainty. And that's the point of this question. Like, one thing I think about a lot that bothers me is the idea that almost everything I see and experience comes down to chemicals and electricity. And if you know the exact formula of a chemical to put in my body, you can literally change my state of being. I can believe I'm anyone or anything. I can get a shot of the sleepy drug they have at a hospital, and I can lose consciousness temporarily, completely outside of my control. Like, I don't like the fact that if you put the right chemical in me, I could feel nothing, I could feel bliss, or I could feel excruciating pain. But at the end of the day, it's just a chemical, it's just a formula. And since my brain is just made up of atoms and forces like the rest of the universe, that means it can be changed and moved around. I know this isn't 100% true, but if my memories were just little electrical pods, couldn't you just move them around and change them, and I simply wouldn't know or be able to tell the difference? How do I know that isn't happening right now? So the final question is, if everything we experience is based off of an observation of invisible forces, waves, and particles, and we're only able to take in a fraction of this information, which most of which is ignored, and the part that isn't ignored isn't even close to the real thing, but just a loose interpretation of it, then how do we know any of this is actually true? How do we know that what we're looking at is anything close to the real thing? What does objectively real even look like? We don't know. We might not ever know. And if we can't even answer if anything is real, then we sure as hell can answer the big one. What are we? What is this? Asking the question what we are is weird because it sounds so simple that you would think we would have some sort of an answer. This is a question about us, something that makes everything else possible. Yet all we have is questions. We barely have any idea what consciousness is. We don't even know how conscious other things around us are. We don't even know if other people are conscious. Even if something appears to be aware of the world, how do you know they're actually conscious? That inside those eyes, there's a being that can feel the things you feel and has a sense of experience. AI is here now. So what happens when one of them claims to be conscious? How would we know? Is there a test? A method? Anything? No. How do you know that everyone walking around isn't just pretending to be conscious as part of some big joke against you? That you're not the only conscious being in the whole universe to ever exist? You might think that's a crazy question, and sure, it probably is, but you can never prove otherwise. The only proof you have are assumptions based off of the little information you have of the universe we live in. We don't know shit about shit. If you think long enough about this question without finding an answer, you start feeling really weird. You realize that this question isn't about some galaxy that we'll never reach, but it's actually in the feeling of touching your fingertips together. You are the biggest mystery in the universe. The biggest mystery is the mystery itself. S tier. It's the most questions of questions because everything comes from your conscious experience. If we can somehow figure out what is going on here, if we can figure out a proper definition and learn the ingredients and the ins and outs of consciousness, it would change everything. Maybe we could understand our emotions perfectly and learn how to control them. We could unlock different realms of reality and see the universe for what it is and not just our brain's rough translation of it. Be able to look up and see the full spectrum of colors and see objective reality. Able to control our perception of time and our state of mind at will. Complete control over ourselves. Unlocking new experiences of euphoria, 1 trillion times more powerful than all humans combined. We could maximize our experiences and stop making the same mistakes over and over again. Have real conscious AI campaigns, talking dogs, etc. I think this will change everything because consciousness is everything. It's the most unexplainable thing unless you're conscious yourself, and even then. Like, define left without saying the opposite of right. Or how would you describe the color blue to someone who's blind? Or the feeling of love to someone who's never been in love? Will we one day be able to explain the unexplainable? Maybe. Next.